Welcome to the second hour of the show with no name for September the 13th, 2013. It's Friday the 13th, and we don't care. We're lucky guys.
Yes,
right?
we are.
And I'm Bob Going with Gavin Murdoch and Jim Nikosha. And, we spent the first hour solving a great deal of the problems of the world.
Yeah.
I thought,
if they would only listen to us.
Old and new.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're obviously not in our usual outdoor set today because it's quite pouring at the moment, and so we moved to the side porch of Casablanca.
You know, since last time we were together on the radio, the primaries ended.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, the primary elections were held last Tuesday.
Chippy dog, no, come over this way.
Step over top of them.
Where are you trying to go, Chip? Come on over here. Oops.
A little technical difficulty.
You couldn't be more messed up. Keep talking, guys.
Oh, all right, yeah. All right.
All right, Chip. You want to go in the house?
There you go. He wants to go somewhere.
We're getting wet.
All right. So this is, this is a very informal show.
Yeah. Informative.
Informal and informative.
Right.
We try to have to accommodate Chippy the Wonder Dog. I guess he wants to come back out again. That's all right. He can sit there for a minute. So I guess there are no huge surprises in the primaries. In New York City, of course. Well.
Sex is out, I guess, huh?
Wow.
In New York City.
And the classic guy that Wiener is his last official act was to flip the bird at a reporter as he was pulling away in the car. What a guy. But he ended up with 5%, and that must have been a joke vote.
Must have been family.
Probably
Or his girls, I don't know.
And Spitzer lost a somewhat closer race, but fairly decisively anyway. So, because he's Wiener is nuts, but Spitzer is evil. So
the one thing with the way the primaries went for the mayoral candidates, you know what? I'm glad I'm not living in New York City because I do not think either of the finalists in this race are up to or have the ability or the vision to run the city.
The Republican candidate probably won't get any votes. But he at least was deputy mayor under Giuliani and then headed a number of departments. So the general feeling is he's fairly competent to manage the departments, but he's got no charisma whatsoever.
You got to have a personality.
You can be pretty sure that he would not be able to rally the troops like Giuliani did when the World Trade Center went down, for example. And who knows? Anyway, I guess the era of great personalities is over for New York for a while.
I haven't read anything about the two candidates down there for life.
Well, they both kind of came out of nowhere. The guy who ended up winning for the Democrats was running like third or fourth at the beginning, but everybody else kind of self-destructed. Wiener was, for some reason, name recognition, really, nothing else, was like in the first place in the polls for a while, and then the woman whose apparently only qualification was she was a lesbian, she moved into first place, and after a while, I'm serious. I mean, that's
But all the candidates were running on it's not anti-crime. They're running on an anti-police platform.
Right.
Trying to get rid of the stop and frisk policy, which has served for the last 20 years, served the city well.
You better believe it.
And
I used to go to New York quite a bit. Several times a year. My mother would organize bus trips, and and I remember standing around Times Square before Giuliani, and I would count the number of violations of the penal law I was personally witnessing during a say a 20-minute period in Times Square, and I'm serious, including stuff that I had only read about in the books. Jostling is a crime. I've never seen anyone prosecuted for jostling, but I saw an instance of it. One guy goes up, bumps into a woman as she's crossing the street, while his partner comes in and reaches into her handbag to grab the wallet. Yeah. Didn't get the wallet that day, but they were trying.
Yeah.
They were trying, and of course the 3-card Monte games and some classic stuff, and the drugs all over the place. Guys just walking through, smoke. You know, just open drug market in Times Square, and the sex trade and all that stuff. You know, by the time Giuliani left office, it was once again the crossroads of the world.
It's clean. He cleaned it up.
Fantastic place.
You know, but if you look at the statistics, crime, down, murders are down, armed robberies are down. I mean, everything, because they were out and about policing.
Right.
And the philosophy that the two candidates are, we want cops to simply be out patrol, not being proactive, and it's going to be it easily could turn into the Wild West again, like it was. You look at Chicago, which is less than 25% of the population of New York City, and yet their crime, actual numbers of crimes are quadruple what New York City has.
Sure.
I mean, you have to go out and you have to do the job, and the way
you can't just give up.
You can't. And with the judicial decision down there to eliminate stop and frisk, putting in an overseer for the department to monitor all this, what goes on, and the requirements they're putting upon it. They don't want them targeting certain neighborhoods anymore, the minority neighborhoods. They said, well, this is where the crimes take place,
right.
and these are the people we are protecting from crime.
Right.
The very ones who are saying, don't treat us like you are. We deserve better. You shouldn't be targeting our population. Well, you target the bad guys, and if this is where they are, and this is what they're doing, this is what we need to do to protect you from it. They'll go back to policing, Upper Manhattan, because nothing's going on there.
Our chief was on the radio yesterday.
Yeah.
He talked pretty good. What surprised me, he says that the revenue that they brought in was $50,000 in what, 30 days, did he say?
Some ridiculously, yeah.
And fines for parking and traffic violations?
Let me tell you, Judge Asen does not go lightly on fines. If you plead guilty to a misdemeanor, you're paying a $1,000 fine, which is the maximum.
Really?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's pretty universal from what I've seen, and that's the people with lawyers. I don't know what he's doing with people without lawyers. That can add up to quite a bit in the course of a session of court. Now, whether getting them to pay
get
it,
collected something else.
The city doesn't get all that, though, does it?
Yeah.
Oh, it does?
Yes, the city gets all of it. Yeah.
Well, that's pretty good.
It is.
50,000.
And when you stay on top of these things, it looks like your crime rate is going up. No, you're just prosecuting the stuff that's been there all along.
That's right. You're catching people you didn't catch before.
You're a school district guy, Gavin. I remember some years ago, the Amsterdam School District was getting some kind of a reputation in the Capital District for having a lot of bad stuff going on. And it was really exactly the opposite. It was, we are not tolerating here, or we were not, I don't know if we still are, or if we are now, but we were not tolerating that which other city school districts would just turn their head on.
That's right.
We were cracking down on the little stuff so there wouldn't be big stuff.
You are correct. You are correct.
We were putting the metal detectors in before the big schools were to keep the stuff out of the school and all that stuff.
We've got, let's see, you got 1,100 students, another 100 teachers and staff. So you've got almost 1,300 people under one roof for 7 hours a day. There are 7 changes of classes during that time period. So 7 times 1,300 interactions during those things. Now, if 1% of that interactions result in something, that's still a few numbers. But in the big scheme, it's not.
Right.
And yet we were, proactively dealing with a lot of these things that before, you turned a blind eye to and were tolerated, and we didn't. And, we were pretty upfront about that. We had articles in the paper, we had names in the paper.
Right.
We began to prosecute kids who were doing criminal, you get in a fight and you injure somebody. It's not just, well, you got in a fight.
You had sheriff's deputies in the school who were allowed to make arrests.
Yes, they did. And it changed over time the tenor in the building. So things that used to that would occur no longer occur. And this isn't. It was a big deal, but it's not a big deal. When I took over, smoking was a big issue. It's not even on any radar anymore because we effectively dealt with it, and now the only smoking you see is in the morning when kids go across the street. But in the building, it's not. When I first came there, kids would go out between periods and smoke outside the doors and stuff, and over time, the bathrooms smell clean because there's no smoke in there. It really changed. Just as Giuliani did. There's a philosophy, it's called the broken window philosophy.
Right.
In law enforcement, whereby you deal with every little thing that occurs, and the big things eventually will end up taking care of themselves. You need to deal with everything because those little things are the gnats there, and they just keep biting and biting and biting, and it festers. And then there's a feeling that, well, anything can happen. You have to eliminate that so that the feeling is nothing can happen.
I remember when John Giovanni took over, who was 1 or 2 principals before you.
Yeah.
Right?
He was the assistant principal up there.
He came in and he said, was he principal or assistant?
Assistant principal.
Assistant principal. Who was the principal? Giovanni?
Bert was still principal then.
Anyway, John says, I'm not going to tolerate these kids wearing hats to class. And the teachers all said, you'll never be able to get away with that. First day he says, here's the rule, boom. And guess what? They stopped wearing the hats. Believe it or not, when you actually enforce the rules,
that's right.
Everything falls into place.
And that was a big thing, and it's an obvious thing. Because, I wear a hat all the time, except when I go inside, because it's disrespectful. And I would tell kids, I say I have my Australian hat, I wear it every day as an administrator. But so when I come in the building, I take it off. And our kids, did that. They took their hats. So I was always one little nudge, but they would take them off. And it would irk me when they'd go in and show Niskayuna and do a feature on one of their accelerated classes, and all these kids got their hats on, they got them half-assed backwards, they got them cockeyed. I said, that's just so disrespectful. Start out from a point of respect and work from there. And I just bothered me because our kids didn't wear hats. Did someone carry them around with them, waiting to put them on? Yeah, but they didn't.
My
didn't.
granddaughter came to the house one time with her boyfriend. And they always do. But he come in the house with his hat on. And he sat down at the table. And my granddaughter says, "Got to take your hat off." And he looked around. She said, "Yeah. In this house, you take your hat off when you come in."
It's like Reagan would not walk into the Oval Office without having his jacket on. This is you have to show respect for where you are.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. And there are places you have to be respectful.
This guy puts his feet up on the desk.
Yeah.
With his golf shirt on.
Yeah. And his wife goes out. And does push-ups in front of the nation. Like she's something great because she can do push-ups. I cringe when I see her on TV.
Her latest thing is she wants everybody to drink an extra glass of water a day. There is absolutely no scientific basis for this whatsoever. even the you drink eight glasses of water a day stuff is
That's
baloney.
baloney.
There's no scientific basis for it, and there is no problem that it solves. If you're thirsty, have a drink, or eat a piece of fruit, and that's it. And your body will take care of itself.
Yeah.
But for her to determine how many glasses of water everybody should be drinking, or let alone that everyone should have one more than they're already drinking, is just nuts.
But
And they're dumping her meal plans in the schools because
the kids hate it.
the kids won't eat it.
Why aren't you? Yeah, they asked the other. Why aren't you eating the Michelle Obama diet that you're supposed to? Because it tastes like puke, like the girl said.
Oh, it was just on TV the other day. They had one of the school districts is fighting this battle. I know Bethlehem opted out of the school lunch program because
Really?
the kids were throwing their meals away.
Yeah.
They were not eating
They're
it.
doing it here.
You know,
They're throwing their meals away.
should we tell people? Should we have people be aware about healthy eating? Yes, we should.
Yeah.
Absolutely, no doubt about it. But to force and take away choice from people takes away the responsibility that they have for themselves.
The kids are throwing away their apples and oranges at the mealtime because they put them on their trays. And my daughter-in-law's an aide. And she finally she says, don't throw them away. You put them over here on the table. We'll give them to somebody else.
Yeah. But it's even beyond just the fruits and stuff. The stuff that they're fixing now is just so bland and tasteless. Kids aren't eating, So the school district, Bethlehem, was losing money, not just because the kids are throwing the lunch away, but fewer and fewer kids are buying the lunches. They were brown bagging it because they didn't want to eat to school, and they began to lose money, so they opted out. And there was kind of a uproar over that. And there was somebody else just the other day on the news as well, and I missed the name of the school, is going through the same thing now because the kids aren't doing what you hope to accomplish. The opposite is what is happening. The opposite is the effect.
One year, I'm at judge camp, the annual judicial training. Half the judges go 1 week, half the other. So there was like 600 judges, okay, in this big banquet room at some hotel down in Westchester County. And it was pretty obvious this one year that one of the female judges took it upon herself to choose the menu for the dinner for the first night. And wanted, I'm not complaining about women in general. I'm just saying that this particular one was imposed her philosophical beliefs on the other 599 judges. And so we have this really healthy meal served, raw vegetables and no meat, some kind of 40-minute rice or whatever. Just awful. And I think, dessert was, a prune or something. But, oddly enough, the second night, there was nobody there for dinner. Everybody went out and got their own dinner. But, it's... This is good for you. Oh, great. Good for you.
Good for you, too. You can have mine. I'm going to be so kind, give you twice.
The big thing in the school district now is the dress code. They're...
All right. Here's... You want... What did you say? You want the rest of the story?
Yeah, let's hear the rest.
You want to hear the...
First of all, is there something new this year that wasn't there before?
Not really.
They're enforcing it, supposedly.
Okay. This year, as an overview, you've got 4 new elementary principals.
Okay.
Okay. One's been there for a whole year.
And you got 4 elementary schools.
I've got 4 elementary schools. Yeah. One's been there a whole year. The other ones have come in over the course of summer or during last year. Okay. So you inherit what you inherit.
Right.
We as a school district has been getting banged around for the last several years because of the lack of results on our testing. So one of the things that they have attempted to do is to bring back something that we started when we went to the magnet schools, to make each school feel as a community, to feel as one. And one of the things that came about as a result with meeting of parents and teachers and administrators is to come up with a uniform for each of the schools that would identify them as attendees of each particular school. You know, and the choices, you know, we're basically, you know, khaki, and then a variety of shirts, you know, collared shirts, like golf shirts, you know, blue, green, and yellow, beige, black, and whatever each school chose, okay? They'd have a choice of these things. Now, one of the reasons that private schools, parochial schools, and charter schools have uniforms is to create a sense of identity for the children who attend these schools, to build a community, to have the kids buy into the idea that they are
He's going to catch.
Yeah.
there for a common purpose and part of the team that's going towards that common purpose. And our purpose is to make sure Chipper doesn't knock everything over.
fine.
Okay, so that's the philosophy behind having what we would say are uniforms. Wearing the uniform and having a dress code are two separate issues. The dress code, you can have an enforceable dress code that requires students to dress with an acceptable fashion,
Right.
which would negate spaghetti straps, short shorts, all those types of things, you know, gang
Ball
affiliated
gown
things,
pants,
those types of things, okay? Those things you can receive a sanction for because you violated a code which the state has established schools can create and enforce. The uniform is a philosophical approach to have kids buy in and feel part of a team. Why do all the football players wear the same color uniform? Why do policemen wear uniforms? To identify them as part of something together. There has been several instances where kids and parents have said, I don't want my kid to wear that to school. I don't want my kid to have to wear those green, blue, or black shirts. I'm going to send my kid in something else. Letters were sent home basically explaining the philosophy behind this. And parents still refuse to have their kids wear these things. In that case, as long as the kid's attire is not a violation of the dress code, that's kind of the end of it. Though they are still working to have these kids and these parents understand the philosophy behind it and how by being supported that we can start having these kids have a better buy-in to the community of school.
So at this point, do all four of the elementary schools have a separate colored uniform?
Yes and no. Blue may be in several of them, but not in all of them. Each one could say it. So I mean, you go to Tekla, you might be white, beige, and black. He goes to McNulty for the 9th time, and he's wearing he's wearing, you know, blue, light blue, and pink. Okay, so each school may have one of the same ones, but each school chose their own. And yes, this is the first time in a number of years that they've really attempted to enforce it. Now, the other philosophy behind this is the fact that you as a parent aren't going to have to go out and buy 7 or 8 different new things for your kid to wear to school this year.
Right.
You can go out and buy two shirts and 2 pairs of pants and you're done. Okay, just like we at Scully in St. Mary's, our parents bought that one green jacket, and if you didn't grow much, you got 4 years. It worked for 4 years. It didn't matter if it was halfway up your arm,
Right,
I had it on.
By senior year, it
Okay.
was,
Yeah. So that's it. But there's been some individual issues in each of the buildings with certain kids and parents who are resistant to this. Now, something very interesting, on one of the other call-in shows, they said, we've thought about contacting a local TV station, have them come up and show how foolish this is and having this uniform code. Well, 2, maybe 3 weeks ago on Channel 10 News, they went into Troy Elementary School number 2 because that was their lowest achieving school. And one of the first things the parents and the administration and teachers did was come up with a uniform. So the kids would begin to do all the things that we just talked about. And there they had one shirt. It was this awful green, kind of like construction color green, you know, is the color that they chose for the kids to wear. And the kids were, somebody donated some money. Prison green. And that's what they wore. And they, to a T, the kids and the teachers and administrators and the parents thought it was great, because now we're all part of the same thing, working for a common goal. Is that in and of itself going to change the results of the kids in school? No.
It can.
It's one of the pieces that can be used to change that. You know, and we got this question on the show the other day, and I didn't realize it was a controversy till afterwards, you know. But it's not a big deal, but it is a big deal in some respect, because you want people to be all working on the same page and not detracting from something and taking away from some of the things you're trying to do. In the end, what's going to happen, I don't know. I think part of it's how it's presented, how you work. 314-666-83669. That's me.
That's yours.
I'm not used to having anything. Oh, must be an ad.
I agree with the philosophy. I think uniforms or dress code is good for the school. I really do.
And poor kids and rich kids are going to be looking alike, which is also kind of important.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Then you're not going to be looking at each other and say that kids can afford this and this kid can't.
Yeah.
I
now, when I was a principal at the high school, you know, we had the dress code. We didn't have a uniform code, and even within that dress code, it got to be very difficult, depending upon the time of the season, what kids wore and what they didn't wear. And we had a number of times where we had to call the kid and say, look, you're going to either have to change to something else you have with you, or you're going to have to go home. And primarily this occurs with people of the female persuasion, because they're the ones who wear, you know, risque things. Yeah. We had this one girl, we called in, and she absolutely refused. She wasn't going to change. I said, well, we're going to call Mom, because you really can't be here looking like this in school. It's really, really not appropriate. So get on the phone, call Mom. Mom's all in a huff. She's all huffing and puffing and pissing and moaning on the phone. She said, I'll be right up. And Bob, she walked in there.
She was worse than the kid, right?
No doubt about it. She was worse than the kid, you know. And then at that point, I kind of felt a little sorry for the girl, because I mean, this is what she knew. This is how she saw it, you know. And you know, the mom gave her something, the girl changed, and that was that. But when the mom walked in, I'm thinking, oh, you know, I guess it pays to advertise. I don't know. It's not in the shop window. You don't know it's for sale. But it was it was tough. You know, and schools have, over the last 20 years, have had to fight this fashion battle. You know, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've heard a lot of mothers complain over the last 20 years that the only thing available to buy in the stores was stuff that made their daughters look like Britney Spears.
Well,
you know, and,
yeah,
you know, that's all that was even available.
And it's hard. You know, they're fighting that battle too. Now, to take this even one step further, there is a school in Texas who have banned their cheerleaders from wearing their cheering uniform to school, because they don't think it's appropriate to wear in school. Yet it's okay on the football field to wear. You know, and I honestly, I'd heard that complaint too from parents, that, you know, they got these little things and it's, you know, there's nothing there, and they wear them to school, but they can't wear a short dress to school. You know, it's a cultural battle that we fight. It's a generational battle that we fight about what's apparel.
You may recall there was a very short time, I think maybe 1 year, when St. Mary's did away with female cheerleaders, and it was all male cheerleaders, because they finally decided, you know, we got the, you know, we're trying to teach modesty in dress, and we put these girls out there to show off everything they got. You know?
I don't remember that.
It was.
Don't remember that.
I'm trying to think when it was. It was like 65 somewhere.
I mean, one of the last years at St. Mary's.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
It only lasted 1 year. And I went right back.
People don't
But
want.
you understand what they're, you know,
Yeah,
what they're talking about.
sure, absolutely. So, but that's the controversy on the dress code and the uniforms, you know. And to be honest with you, that we had a board meeting last night. It wasn't a regular. It wasn't one of our regularly scheduled monthly board meetings, which is next Wednesday. But we had a board meeting because we've been working with CAS's Capital District. Like a school improvement organization. They have different programs they do in schools, and we've been working with this with CASA for the last year regarding the setting of goals, expectations, teacher performance, board performance, all these things. So we were meeting with them last night to go over their review of us from last year, and I truly expected that there was going to be a room full of parents there talking about the uniforms in the elementary schools, and nobody got up and said anything. There was a couple parents there, but nobody said anything, so they're not the ones who are complaining. I did question one of the women who works at one of the elementary schools last night about, you know, how many kids are wearing uniforms. She said, oh, I don't know, 60–70% of the kids are coming in with the official, you know, the three appropriate colors, you know, and a couple other kids have come in with, you know, polo shirts with collars that were a different color, whatever. But she said, for the most part, it's not a big deal, you know. And I think a lot of this is when something goes asunder, how do you handle it? How do you try to accommodate for it? How do you make it the best you can be out of it, you know? And I'm sure there can be some parents who are absolutely going to refuse to do it, and you know. The kid isn't going to be punished for it. They don't stay after school for detention. They don't get sent to the principal's office to spend a period there or anything. They just, you know, or just kind of hope that, you know, people will see, you know. And if you don't want your, you know, they say, well, the kids, somebody in one of the schools, they put another on the kid.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, my kid was ostracized. You know, you humiliated him. Well, my only thought was, well, if he'd worn what he was supposed to start with and hadn't worn what he wore, he would have been like everybody else, and it wouldn't have happened.
A really revealing shirt.
I don't know. I just don't.
You know, I've talked to a couple of people who were complaining about it. I don't get their point.
I don't either. I mean,
civil rights.
No, but yeah, okay, yeah, right.
Okay.
But
okay. Come on.
I mean, how are they worse off? How are worse off?
Well,
Looking
say,
like
the poor
else?
people can't afford to go out and buy a different color shirt. You know.
They're wearing others.
And they said that well, I think, I agree with all the philosophy, okay? The parents should have gotten a letter at the beginning of the year that this is the dress code or whatever, so that they knew before they went out and did their shopping for the school clothes. Because
I don't know when the letters went out. I know we got Misha got a letter the week before school welcoming back and things. They talked about stuff at the middle school. And I know the elementary sent stuff out. Did it get sent out in a timely enough fashion?
Probably not.
Probably not this year. But over the course of time, you know, can this get worked out?
Oh,
yeah.
Sure.
All right. You know, they don't. I went to the store. They don't have my kid's size and the right color. Now, okay. You know, they're going to be reordering when you get done. Fine. It's not the death knell. Okay, it's not, nor it should be. But there's been a really strong effort to opening a school, particularly at Tekla, which was our lowest performing elementary school last year. They've made a lot of changes up there. They have a new administration team in up there. They got teachers in at Tekla who want to be at Tekla. They've added some things because of this $3.8 million grant they got specifically to do things differently at Tekla to raise up the scores. That, you know, it's going to change. There's been a tremendous amount of in-service and professional training the teachers have gotten over the course of last year as well as this summer. You know, one of the things, and having been an administrative teacher here, one of the things that was never provided for was the perpetual in-servicing and professional development to offer to teachers. Teachers who wanted could, but it wasn't presented to the masses. And people say, oh, what? Teachers went to school, they know how to teach. Wait a minute. I've been going to the same dentist for 20 years. Is he doing the things on me now he did 20 years ago? No, he's kept up to date, because dentists are required every 6 months to go back and receive in-service training upon the newest techniques and methods and materials available. That philosophy has not until recently extended into the classrooms of America. Teachers taught how they were taught, because that's what they knew. But as requirements change, as the rubrics for scoring and the curriculum has changed, you need to do things differently to be effective in what is now expected. And always the expectations are put out there prior to the development of the processes and changes you need to do in the classroom to meet those things, which is the reason you had such terrible results on last year's testing, because it was brand new testing in ways that were not tested before, as well as testing material that wasn't there before. Teachers need to go be back, and they need to learn and be taught what they're supposed to teach. So there's going to be a period that you've got a lost generation in there who aren't going to have a chance to catch up, because a lot of these things are quantitative. They're foundational. If you don't have the foundation, you're not going to be able to start up here. You're going to end up having to get some of that foundation to get back up to there. Education is not always built on a business model. A business has to change things incrementally and change from the bottom up to present the final product. Schools, they just shotgun it and say, well, here you are. So the kid who has missed all these things is still expected to achieve something different than something he has no experience in. So that's part of the process they're looking at, is to create this sense of community, of ownership and belonging. Because the thing that all these studies show is kids who feel no connection to where they are in school are the ones who are lost. Because for the most part, they're also the same kids that have no connection at home. And in order to provide that connection and that understanding, you need to foster something in the school to give them those things to be successful. I mean, we came from strong nuclear families with high expectations, and expectations that were understood. They weren't always told to you, but you knew they were there, okay?
Right.
And if you didn't reach it, then it reminded you that it was there, and it was just the way it was.
And if it wasn't enough that I had a mother who was valedictorian of her class and a father who was salutatorian of his, I had an older brother who was getting all the quarterly medals and all.
Yeah,
the,
so
all
you
the
better,
prizes.
your brothers don't, you know, so there is some good in those types of pressures. And a lot of those things that we took for granted do not exist in the lives of so many of our kids. And one more thing, and then we can talk about something else, is that, you know, we talk about this multicultural approach. And my belief is, having this multicultural approach, you've got so many things you have to try to accommodate for that really takes time away from some other things. You come here, and I believe everybody, 99.9% of people in this country now, have come here by a choice. And they've made a conscious decision to come here to take advantage of what we have to offer. That should be the focus, is that commonality that we all have, not this diversity. Because the more diverse you make something, the less it strengthens. It is not as strong as it was before.
Was it
now,
Joe Biden who said "E pluribus unum" out of one many?
Probably, you know, and though I have traveled there many times, and though I did marry one of their citizens, and I'm not a big proponent of communism or Russia, the one thing that the communists did and the Russians did when they took some place over is they made those people Russian. And everybody, every place you went, could speak Russian. And they had that commonality, that singularity of purpose that we have completely lost here. And that's why there's such a disparity between one place and another, and the success and failure of others, because we don't all have that same focus. And part of building that community within the school, that wearing that uniform and coming with the belief that I'm here to learn and to better myself, is what they're trying to do and work on in the school. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Okay, Jim,
I agree with it wholeheartedly.
All right.
The dress code.
All right, our movie of the week this week was Place Beyond the Pines, which was filmed in Schenectady, in Scotia.
Yes, it was. Because the pines are lower than that, and we're
Well,
past them.
I get all done watching the movie, and I'll get into the movie in a minute because it's not bad. It's not 100%, but it's not bad. I got all done with it, and I said, "What the heck did the title have to do with this movie?" and so I called up noted presidential historian David Petrucia, whose wife's boss, Hugh T. Farley, makes an appearance in the movie. A lot of local
really?
faces in there.
Yeah.
Doug Grisette, who was a family court judge in Schenectady, shows up as the city court judge in Schenectady. It's filmed in the city courtroom, and some of the lawyers I knew. And anyway, he believes that Place Beyond the Pines is what Schenectady means in the Native American language, and it makes sense because it's the pine bush goes up as far as Schenectady, and Schenectady is the place beyond the pines. That's where the pine bush ends and the clay soil begins.
I was wondering what
That's the only thing he was able to come up with.
I thought Schenectady meant place next to big electric plant.
Yeah, I think so. The
Okay.
GE plant does make it in there.
Okay.
Apparently, it was written by some guys in Niskayuna, which may be how Farley got into the movie because he's from Niskayuna. But you see movies that are filmed on location. This is filmed on location to the nth degree. I mean, when the guy robs a bank in Scotia, it's the bank in Scotia. When he robs a bank on Brandywine, it's the bank on Brandywine. And then they chase him down Brandywine and through the Vale Cemetery and down those side streets going north. And everything is absolutely accurate.
No name changes.
He's staying at a trailer on Washout Road, and sure enough, it's Washout Road. And there's a train track going over the road and the tunnel and everything. It's Washout Road. There was only one place in the movie that my wife and I both caught it, where they're speeding down Route 5 out of Scotia to Glenville, and it's clearly filmed in the wrong direction because the river's on the
right.
instead of the river being on the side, the mountains
Left.
on the side, or
Is
whatever, or vice versa. I forget which it was, but it was clearly it was filmed coming the other way instead of out toward Washout Road.
One of the gentlemen that I work with.
Where'd you get it? Was it online?
We got it at Redbox.
Redbox?
Yeah.
One of the guys I work with has appointments occasionally down in Schenectady, and we were coming back on Route 5 when they were filming that, and we had left Jumpin' Jacks because we always go to Jumpin' Jacks, and I said, "Gee, there's a cop there. Usually I don't see a cop in that corner. Come up farther." I said, "Something must be going on, right?" And then we get, and they're all the way up to Stewart's in Rotterdam Junction.
Yes.
There were cops.
Yeah, that's the scene I'm talking
Yeah.
about. Yeah.
And I said, "What's going on here?" And we got home on the news. I said, "That's what they were. They had everything closed off because we must have been like the last car allowed to come up Route 5 because there was just nobody there. They had it all closed off." And I said, "That's what they're doing. They're filming that movie."
It was really filmed on the cheap. I mean, there were virtually no sets. They were filming in the Schenectady police station, I'm sure, and stuff like that. And I'm sure they had real cops playing cops. And in the chase through the Schenectady streets, you recognize just about everything. And then there are long shots looking over the valleys, and it really is a pretty valley.
Now, ultimately, was it a good movie?
Yeah, it kind of petered out toward the end. It's long. I think it runs about 2 hours and 20 minutes, but it kind of hooks you in early. And the thing I really liked about it is it takes you in places, in directions you didn't think you were going. It's almost Hitchcockian in some respects, in that you're following one story. Well, like in Psycho, where the whole story is about the girl robbing her boss and going to the motel, and all of a sudden, 45 minutes into the movie, she's dead, and the movie is going in a completely different direction. It's the same thing with this one. the protagonist of the movie all of a sudden disappears an hour into it, and then it follows a different character, and it kind of gets intertwined, and then it shoots ahead 15 years, and so it really had a lot going for it. I just think it just kind of slowed down too much toward the end. Farley gets in almost the last scene of the movie.
Yeah.
And he plays a state senator. The credits is a state senator, Hugh T. Farley. That's type. But he was pure Farley. He's introducing the new Attorney General and election night.
So is this a recommended or?
Well, certainly for people around here, I would recommend it anyway, just because you're going to enjoy recognizing everything that you're seeing.
Mm-hmm.
The fair scenes were filmed at the Altamont Fair, or in the Altamont Fairgrounds anyway. Where you guys were a few weeks ago. I enjoyed it. It has a certain gritty realism to it. There's nothing that really seems phony about it. The characters are even the ones who look like actors. There's a reality to the way they deal with the situations that I think is very effective. I see one of my lawyer friends was listed as a special thanks near the top of the credits. The courtroom scenes, there's only a couple of brief courtroom scenes filmed in the Schenectady City Court, but they're absolutely accurate. What is happening in the courtroom is exactly what would happen in the courtroom in Schenectady, or here. Yeah. But the pattern is just right. And ordinarily, when I watch anything that has to do with the courtroom, I'm just laughing because it's nothing the way it really is. If I were the Schenectady Police Department, I don't think I'd be very happy that this movie was filmed in Schenectady. Because it's clearly, they say it's Schenectady, it's clearly Schenectady, everything about it is Schenectady. They're all wearing Schenectady Police Department uniforms and they're corrupt as hell.
Okay. It is what it is.
It is what it is. I'd watch it again, I think, and I would certainly recommend it. It does run a little long. How are we?
It's 10 off.
Okay.
Yeah. Well,
all right. So anyway, let's see what else have we watched recently. I don't know. Well, the Red Sox. God.
Even without Ellsbury.
Even without Ellsbury. They lost last night. Of course, they've been playing a lot of their youngsters. It's like every night a different hero. They lost by 1 run last night, and I was almost hoping they would lose last night because I don't want Tampa Bay to get out of the wild cards.
You want them in the wild cards?
We're handling them real well.
Oh, there you go. Exterior
you never
motive.
know I just want to keep the Yankees out.
How long is Ellsbury going to be out? Do they know?
I think he's out. I don't know.
Compression fracture, and that's it, huh?
I don't know. I haven't heard anything definitive. But what poor Jeter? Holy jeez.
He's done. Yeah. Shut him down.
He may be done for good.
I mean,
he's 39.
Yeah.
He's got a 1-year option for next year. His ankle hasn't healed.
I mean, it's a tough way to go out, but you don't want to come back looking like Willie Mays either. You don't want to see him falling down out there, and he's going. I think probably Pettit's going, Mario's going. I guess maybe. I think he'd rather go out on his terms though, and come back
Rodriguez
and do it.
Won't be playing all next year anyway, and will probably be dumped, right?
If they can, they will.
I think if he doesn't survive the arbitration, he's. They have the option to eliminate him for cause.
Yeah, they'll eliminate him.
And
they'll dump his contract in a flash.
And then
big bucks. That's why they want to get rid of him.
Cano may not. He's a free agent at the end of the season. I don't know if they're going to bring him back.
Yeah.
He's a really good player. I can't stand the guy. I don't like the way he plays at all. But he's got great stats, and he's done. He's the only guy who's been consistent all year for the Yanks. you know.
Yeah, and he has been.
He has.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't like him.
Now, maybe I'm prejudiced, but is there any doubt that John Farrell's the manager of the year? I mean, is there even a dispute about that? He took a team that won 59 games last year, and or 69. Maybe they got to 69. I forget. But,
what about you got to consider the guy from Oakland. I mean, they're in first in their division. They got a chance to win.
They got a great record.
Yeah. And they're a bunch of nobodies. I mean, not being disrespectful, but they're not marquee players.
Right.
You know, the only guy on the team I know is Lowry, the third baseman.
I've watched Farrell time and again over the course of this season pull a pretty decent hitter out of the lineup to put in a pinch hitter.
Yeah, and it worked.
Who delivers.
Yeah. It worked.
And it's like, I mean, it's not magic. I mean, he could give you a solid 3 paragraphs on why he did each choice the way he did when he did. But the fact is, he makes those choices.
Yeah.
And they may not always be immediately popular. Of course, they are as soon as the guy
delivers.
I mean,
but
Carp. Who the hell is Carp? Carp has hardly played this year, but he's got a .310 batting average.
Yeah.
And
hits a grand slam pinch hit.
Hits a grand slam pinch hit home run on the first pitch.
Yeah.
That broke the game open. It was a tie game at that point.
I mean, you're right. He's got to be up there. He's got to be up there. But now you got.
But he has handled this team so well.
Oh, he turned it around.
There are no, if there are prima donnas on the team, they've disappeared their prima donnaness. They're out there. Everybody on that team is out having a good time every night, which is fantastic.
But they did lose a sponsor this year, though.
Huh?
They lost one of their sponsors.
Who'd they lose?
Gillette.
What do you mean? Oh, yeah.
Nobody shaves.
I got your joke. And more are growing beards now. It's like they've all got them now. Just
Napoli. My wife looked at it and said,
Napoli's got a beard for history.
His beard is better than Wilson's on the reliever for the Giants and Dodgers now.
Right. Says they got to grow a beard to be on this team?
Now, when did he go to the Dodgers?
They picked him up last month. He got dropped by San Francisco, and the Dodgers picked him up.
Because I was really surprised to see him playing against the Red Sox. I said, wait a minute, shouldn't he have been playing last night?
But I mean, but Napoli's got that wild beard.
His beard, Wilson's beard looks fake.
It's so black and thick.
Right,
yeah,
it looks fake.
Yeah,
but whereas Napoli's is just
Grizzly Adams.
He could have been a Civil War general easily. But it started out. He had the first one, and then Gomes copied his, and now they don't even Big Papi's growing a beard now.
Yeah,
he's got a little.
They
grab his chin.
He likes to make his.
And that's it. Every time they hit a home run,
they grab their chin. Yeah.
But they're having so much fun, and of course they've been so hot too. It can't that can't hurt.
No.
When everything is working, and you're pulling out these late inning games, and. They've won on their last at bat 22 times this season.
That's their leaders.
Yeah.
That's good.
11 at home, 11 away.
So they want Tampa Bay to be
I don't
wild
know
card.
That's my feeling.
The
Yankees are getting too close.
Baltimore's close.
And the Yankees will be playing Tampa Bay next, I think.
And Texas is close because Texas is kind of dropping down a little bit now as one of the wild cards. But you could end up with both wild cards being out of the East.
You could, yeah.
Yeah.
Theoretically.
So
actually.
Tampa Bay, Baltimore, the Yankees.
Yeah, who's on top though? Texas on top?
They were. I don't know if that's true today because they got beat again. And
Tampa Bay won, so maybe Tampa Bay's in first.
Might be. So I mean, it's possible Texas could get knocked out.
Texas a couple of days ago was a couple of games ahead of Tampa Bay. And there's like 4 in Cleveland, Baltimore, and
Kansas City was after last night was within 2 games.
Wow. So anything can happen, especially with all the teams playing each other.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, every game's worth 2 points in the standings.
Maybe. Depending on who's on top at that particular point.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got to jump over everybody else in the process.
Yeah.
Cleveland is the only one. Cleveland's got kind of they're not playing any of the other contenders.
No, they have to help. They need help.
Yeah.
But they got ripped last night on TV. I mean, because they're a couple games out. Well, they're a couple games out, and they had like 10,000 people show up to their game, and they announced it. Are you kidding me?
Really? Yeah. I'm watching every game I watch at Tampa Bay.
Oh.
There's nobody in the stands. I mean, this is a contending team. I mean, up until a month ago, 3 weeks ago, they were contending for the
league
division,
yeah.
And they still can't get anybody in that stadium. And the
Marlins are
the Miami team was worse.
Marlins are the same way. Yep. So
they call themselves Miami now, or they Florida? Yeah.
No, they're the Miami Marlins. Miami. It's got the M on their hat. Yeah, the Miami.
Jim, you're not adding much to this baseball discussion.
No, not much at all. I'm not that great a baseball fan. I watch it every night, but
you watch it every night. You never know it from our conversation.
No, I don't follow the stats. I like to watch the game, and I don't care who's hitting what percentage or
Okay, you just the pure sport of it.
Just the sport of it. That's the way I am.
Well, it's nothing if not a game of statistics.
And definitely, there's more statistics in baseball than any other sport.
Else.
Not only are there more statistics in baseball than any other sport, but it's the only sport that statistics matter.
Yeah.
Okay, do you know, what the average rushing average is for the top rusher in the league? No, you don't. But you know what the average home run is in the league every year. You know what these teams are batting, how many home runs, how many shutouts that these guys got.
And how you pitch to a guy depends on how he pitched the last 700 times.
All these, yeah, I mean, all this stuff is of value to a baseball fan and to the players. All these statistics. I mean, you measure so many things, and you measure so many more things now than we were kids. You were a kid, you had home runs, RBIs, runs, batting average, ERA, strikeouts. Shutouts. Now, they got these cybermetrics in there. They divided each of those things into 4 other categories that they say is, more
I think of how
valuable.
Jim Labatt and Joe Riley used to hang over my back at the end of every game.
Was it a hit?
Yeah. Who's ahead? Who's ahead? Who's got the better bat?
Man, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, you know. And they could compute every game what they batted that.
Absolutely.
Now I was 2 for 4. That makes me 10 for 31 for the season. I mean, they these things.
Yeah.
Other sports don't have that.
They do it in their heads and without calculators. Oh, we didn't have calculators, did we?
No. No.
You just had adding machine.
Abacuses.
Abacus.
No.
Did you ever see that old City Hall used, at least into the Horanchik administration, one of those big computers and big adding machines, and you could multiply with it. And I remember watching Walt Horanchik sit down and multiply, say, 92 times 36, right? 92 times 36, and then you go, and then the thing starts calculating. It did 36, 92, or 92 36 times. It was just adding.
No.
Adding. That's how they worked until it got to the answer. Yeah. Which is basically what a computer does. Only the computer does it electronically and much faster. But that's what they're doing. That's what when you
it's
break
a
down a
process.
computer, it's going down in binary language, adding 92 36 times.
And it's faster than a blink of an eye.
It's time. Yeah, I know. It's time. And this has been an exciting Friday the 13th. I hope you're all watching this. Unlike last week's program when Jim didn't show up because he was going to his granddaughter's wedding instead.
And we had to talk about my first date, and that just sunk it.
We talked about Gavin's first date, and it was it's just like so far we've had 5 people watch that program, and I was one of them.
I wonder if Cindy watched it.
I sent it to her.
Yeah,
but I haven't heard back. I sent it to her.
Oh well.
Just next time I see her, we'll film her version.
I'll watch that one. I want to watch that one.
Well. Anyway, so that's it. I'm Bob Going with Gavin Murdoch and Jim Nicosia, and we'll be on the radio show Tuesday at 10:04. Tuesday, whatever it is. And back again here next week with more of the show with no name.
The week of the 26th,
1, 2, 3. That's not working.
I will be
Definitely
away.
not working.
I don't know what the 26th is, Friday or Saturday or Sunday. 26th of what? September. This month. This month. Shh, it's a Thursday. This is a Thursday? Yeah. I'll be, that whole week I will be in Norwich. Norway.